Imagine standing just a few feet away from a Formula One car as its engine screams to life. The sound isn't just loud, it vibrates through your chest, rattles your bones, and makes your very heartbeat feel out of sync. In that moment, you're not just looking at a machine, you're staring at the pinnacle of human engineering, speed, and ambition. But here's the truth. These cars aren't born in a flash of brilliance. They aren't the work of a single genius or a lucky spark of innovation. Each Formula One car is the product of thousands of people, millions of hours, and decades of relentless pursuit of perfection. And behind every bolt, every curve, every carefully sculpted piece of carbon fiber lies a story of triumph, heartbreak, and obsession. Because to understand F1 is to understand the very limits of what humans can create when speed becomes the only goal. Right now, as you're listening to this, there are teams of engineers working through the night in factories across England, Italy, and Germany. They're not just building cars, they're building weapons. Each team spends over $300 million per year trying to find advantages measured in thousandths of a second. And in this world, a single breakthrough can be worth millions, while one mistake can destroy an entire season. Let me take you inside this hidden war, where the difference between victory and failure is often invisible to the naked eye. Of course, this arms race has roots that stretch back to the late 1940s. Back then, racing was raw, dangerous, and brutally simple. Drivers sat in cigar-shaped cars that looked more like elongated roadsters than today's spacecraft-like machines. Engines were massive, cars were heavy, and safety was almost an afterthought. Yet even then, one principle became clear. Every fraction of performance mattered. A lighter chassis, a more powerful engine, tires that could grip the tarmac just a little longer before giving way. Every tiny advantage could mean the difference between victory and defeat. But it wasn't just about winning races, it was about prestige, innovation, and pushing the boundaries of technology itself. Formula One became the arena where the impossible was tested, and what worked on the track often trickled down to the cars we drive today. As the decades rolled on, engineering philosophies evolved. Aerodynamics entered the spotlight in the 1960s, with wings bolted onto cars that suddenly transformed airflow into downforce, gluing cars to the track in ways no one had thought possible. By the 1980s, the introduction of carbon fiber revolutionized chassis design. Cars became lighter, stronger, and infinitely more sophisticated. Each breakthrough wasn't just a leap forward. It was a reminder of Formula One's DNA: adapt or fall behind. Fast forward to today, and the creation of an F1 car is less about grease-stained workshops and more about laboratories, supercomputers, and wind tunnels. It begins not with metal or carbon, but with an idea. Engineers gather months, sometimes years, before a new season. They study the regulations that dictate what is allowed and what isn't. Because in Formula One, rules aren't just guidelines, they're walls. And within those walls, designers must find loopholes, clever tricks, and revolutionary concepts that no competitor has yet dared to imagine. Picture this: hundreds of designers sitting in front of high-performance computers, running computational fluid dynamics simulations. They aren't just drawing cars, they're manipulating air itself. Every curve of the front wing, every channel in the floor, every millimeter of the diffuser is tested, refined, and tested again. Millions of data points are analyzed to ensure the car doesn't just slice through the air. It bends it to its will. But numbers on a screen aren't enough. Enter the wind tunnel. A scale model of the car is placed inside, blasted with air while sensors measure downforce, drag, and stability. Engineers watch anxiously because this is where theory meets reality. A small improvement here, a fraction of a second per lap, could decide the fate of an entire season. And this is just the beginning. At the heart of it all lies the power unit. Forget the idea of a simple engine. Today's Formula One cars use hybrid power systems that combine turbocharged internal combustion with advanced energy recovery systems. They don't just burn fuel, they capture wasted energy, heat from exhaust gases, kinetic energy from braking, and recycle it into raw speed. Imagine pressing the throttle in one of these machines. Within seconds, you're pushed back into your seat as the car rockets from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in less than 2.5 seconds. The engine roars, but beneath that sound is the whisper of electricity working in perfect harmony with fire and fuel. But with power comes fragility. Every component must survive races that stretch across 300 kilometers, under temperatures that would melt most metals, while delivering performance at the razor's edge. Fail once, and it's not just an engine that breaks, it's months of preparation shattered in an instant. And that's where we'll pause for now. We've stepped into the hidden world of modern F1 car creation. Factories, simulations, wind tunnels, and power units forged at the limit of science. But what happens when all this theory, all this engineering brilliance, finally meets the tarmac? When the stopwatch, not the simulation, decides the truth. The moment of truth always arrives on race day. Months of design, simulation, and sleepless nights in factories across the world come down to just a few hours on Sunday afternoon. Picture the grid. 20 cars lined up, engines howling like caged beasts. Mechanics take a final step back, helmets reflecting the blazing sun. The 5 red lights above turn on, one by one. For a brief heartbeat, the entire world holds its breath. Then, green, a roar, chaos, a symphony of controlled violence. This is where engineering finally meets reality. Every calculation, every aerodynamic curve, every drop of fuel efficiency is tested against not just physics, but against 19 other machines equally determined to defy it. And here, under the blinding sun of Monaco, the pouring rain of Silverstone, or the midnight lights of Singapore, legends are made, or broken. But Formula One has never been just about racing. It has always been about transformation. And some of the greatest revolutions have come, not from victory laps, but from daring acts of innovation. Take Colin Chapman's Lotus in the 1960s. His team introduced a lightweight monocoque chassis, forever changing how racing cars were built. Suddenly, strength and lightness no longer fought each other. But this obsession has never come without sacrifice. Every revolution, every breakthrough came with a cost. Drivers who pushed too far, teams that gambled everything and lost, mechanics who poured their lives into building perfection, only to watch it crumble on race day. The history of Formula One is littered with tragedy as much as triumph. For every innovation, there is a story of resilience, risk, and recovery. And that duality, the thrill of progress against the shadow of danger, is what gives the sport its haunting beauty. But this obsession has never come without sacrifice. Every revolution, every breakthrough came with a cost. Drivers who pushed too far, teams that gambled everything and lost, mechanics who poured their lives into building perfection, only to watch it crumble on race day. The history of Formula One is littered with tragedy as much as triumph. For every innovation, there is a story of resilience, risk, and recovery. And that duality, the thrill of progress against the shadow of danger, is what gives the sport its haunting beauty. So what do we make of it all? A Formula One car is not just bolts and carbon, engines and electronics. It is the embodiment of a question humanity has been asking for centuries. How fast can we go? From the crude racers of the 1950s to the sleek hybrid beasts of today, these machines have carried more than just drivers across finish lines. They've carried ideas, innovations, and the relentless belief that perfection is always just one lap away. The next time you see a Formula One car thunder down a straight at 350 kilometers per hour, don't just see speed. See the millions of hours of thought, the sleepless nights of engineers, the courage of drivers, and the invisible hands of history that shaped it. Because Formula One cars are not just built. They are imagined. They are fought for. They are lived for. And in their story, we glimpse something greater than racing itself. A reflection of humanity's never-ending chase for the impossible.